Huxley, what are you doing? Don't get your shoes all wet. You know? So I have Oakley, who is 8, Zaylee, who is 6, and Huxley, who is 4. Those 3 are from my ex-husband. And then I have Renly here, my youngest, who is 7 months old. She was the light at the end of a very dark tunnel from the things that her father has done to me and is now being charged for. I do not want to ever have contact with him again.
Renly was born out of rape. She was born in Wisconsin, a state that banned abortion a few months ago, even for cases of non-consensual intercourse. Like Paige, more than 65,000 women have suffered such an ordeal in the states where abortion has been banned since 2022. A decision made by 14 conservative states after a law that protected this right at federal level was removed. It is unknown how many children are born from rape. But the right to abortion is still dividing America 2 years later. It's one of the main issues in the presidential election.
Oakley, pizza's done for me, please. Huxley.
Paige has shared custody of her first 3 children, but raises Renly on her own. She used to work as a firefighter, but is currently unemployed.
Are you getting full? Do you want another bite or no? Okay.
The young 28-year-old mother lives mainly off her savings.
Financially, yes, it's a huge struggle. I do get some benefits from the state. They help with medical insurance. They help with some food share, but there's other bills that come with daily living. The cost of living is rising. Gas to travel. I don't feel like there's enough help out there, especially for single moms.
Paige must provide security for her family by herself. The legal case against Renly's father is still ongoing. Released on bail and awaiting trial, he has threatened her several times.
I am afraid of him, yes. I need this for the protection of my family and myself because he has threatened to kill me multiple times. He's assaulted me multiple times. He's also threatened harm on my family. And I believe his actions and his words are true enough to believe that he would actually follow through.
Paige lived in the grip of her baby's father for months. An ordeal she managed to document.
So these are some of the evidence of the injuries that I received. In this picture, you can see my entire neck is bruised, and then you can also see his handprint that goes up my face. His fingers go up here. So this is him coming to my residence when I wasn't home, getting angry that the door's not unlocked, and hitting my doorbell camera and ripping it off of the door. So he has slapped me, he has punched me, he's strangled me, he has sexually assaulted me. I honestly can't give you a number of how many times the sexual assaults have taken place.
Her first pregnancy was the result of a rape. her partner forced her to abort in a neighboring state, where abortion was legal. It was a traumatizing experience. Then, the second pregnancy arrived.
No, I did not want to experience that again. The first experience I had was very traumatizing. The abortion itself was traumatizing. And the experience, the driving there with him, he made the entire experience very, very hostile. It's the worst decision I've ever had to make in my life. Nobody should ever be put in a position that I was in to have something so traumatizing happen to me, to result into a pregnancy, and then to have to sit there and make a decision, and that decision was partially taken away from me. Because if the abortion was the path that I wanted to take, I had to travel, I had to make time in my daily life schedule, I had to arrange childcare for my 3 living children, I had to take time off of work, I had to financially be able to afford it. So Wisconsin not having abortions legalized played a huge impact on my decision making to keep the pregnancy.
In just 2 years, over 65,000 women have already faced this dilemma. This issue was predicted, but Americans now realize its impact. Thanks to the work of a research team, which includes sociologist Carrie White, working in the state with the highest rate of pregnancies from rape, Texas.
We don't know how many of these over 60,000 pregnancies ended in birth or ended in abortion. Unfortunately, those data just aren't available. But we know from some of our other research, we have interviewed people who have become pregnant as a result from rape and were able to get an abortion, and it really just provided an immense amount of relief for them to be able to move on from this experience. And we also know that people who were in unsafe relationships and who were unable to get their abortion that they wanted were more likely to stay in those relationships as a result of these bans and other restrictions.
Despite the efforts of the conservatives, the number of abortions in the United States has not fallen. In 2023, more than 170,000 Americans traveled across the country to get the procedure. Many of them went to Kansas. This is also where Dr. Sandoval has chosen to work.
I'm actually from Northern California. I grew up there and stayed there through high school, and then moved to the Midwest for my medical school. And I kind of saw the writing on the wall once Trump was elected that Roe would fall and that Kansas would become such a significant destination for abortion care. Something that's really important about Kansas is that geographically it's located immediately above all these southeastern states that have abortion bans. And so we are geographically the closest site for a lot of these patients to travel to. And so it was really important for me to return to Kansas City.
Dr. Sandoval is a gynecologist obstetrician in a family planning clinic, a non-profit organization at the heart of all the tension.
These people over here are protesters. They are a group of anti-abortion extremists. They're actually paid to protest her clinics. This is their full-time job. They harass every patient that comes in. That man with the bullhorn is here most days, and my favorite thing he said to me is, when you were a little girl, did you know you would grow up to be such an ugly woman? That's my favorite one. But usually he talks to me about my soul and how I'm going to hell. I am waiting now for my security guard to come out. Here he is. This is James.
James, like every security guard in the clinic, is armed.
Morning.
Male or
We're very protective of the layout of the clinic in case we were to have like a shooter or some sort of attack on the clinic. The most recent abortion provider to be murdered was actually in Wichita, Kansas. His name was George Tiller. That was in 2009. And as you can imagine, the anti-abortion extremists like to use intimidation and as a fear tactic to prevent other providers from coming to the state and providing care.
On average, the clinic receives 35 patients a day. 3/4 of them come from states where abortion is banned. Most of them wouldn't speak to us for fear of the consequences. This 23-year-old Texan ended up agreeing. She traveled 800 kilometers to get here.
It was a long process. I'm still dealing with it. It's very hard. Being a mom of 2 under 2 and feeling like I'm in a relationship but feeling like a single mom at the same time is very stressful on me physically and mentally, and I wouldn't be mentally okay.
And about your children, like, is it your...
They're with my mom. She doesn't know I'm here. This is like a secret I'm gonna have to keep. So I feel like it's gonna be very hard for me emotionally because I'm not gonna be able to tell anybody. Sorry.
No. Hi there. I'm Dr. Sandoval. How are you? I don't use any audio, and then I'll just turn the screen away from you just like this, okay?
I feel like I'm just numb right now. Nervous, scared.
Okay.
I didn't want to hear or see anything because I feel like I would feel really guilty.
About the fact that you had to leave the States, like, how did you, like, organize?
Having to travel to Kansas made it way more difficult because we had to purchase plane tickets. It's just a lot, and my insurance obviously doesn't cover it because I have a Texas insurance. So it's just a lot. We're literally spending like $2,000 just coming here to do this. Oh, that is a lot of money. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I don't work.
Unfortunately, this is the situation that I see every day. 75% of my patients are coming from either Texas or Oklahoma. On average, our patients are driving about 6 to 9 hours to get to us. It's incredibly frustrating. No one should get healthcare based off of their zip code. Everyone should have access to the same exact healthcare, and that's just not the reality that we live in the United States anymore. And we provide as much as we can, but obviously we're limited by time, staff, and keeping everyone safe as well. Only about 20 to 25% of the people who call us are even able to get an appointment here.
Outside the building, anti-abortion extremists try to stop vehicles from going any further. But counter-protesters are there to intervene.
You can just drive right through. I'm sorry about the protesters.
Talk to me. I have information about free services.
Abortion is murder. That's what's happening in this building. That's what people are doing here. People do it in their homes. They do it in this building. The Lord God
only
created us in His image, commands everyone. We're made by nature to worship
Mind
Him.
your own
We are
business,
slaves.
Clifton.
Everyone is a
Mind
slave
your own
to a
business,
master.
Clifton.
And he hates
Abortion opposers and counter-protesters clash each day outside the clinic. Some are paid by religious organizations, like those in orange vests. Others, like this man, come in their free time.
God says don't murder. He regards a pregnant woman to be with child. So I plead with the women not to murder their children and let us help them. Whatever the reason is, there's an answer. This isn't it, so that's it.
Do you think God wants babies to be born out of rape?
Yes. Because He is the sovereign Lord over the universe, and He says do not murder. But when a woman is pregnant, the circumstance is irrelevant to whether it's okay to murder your child.
All right, we can leave it at your God is impossible. Let's leave it at that, and you can get the fuck out of here.
The anti-abortionists are not just about words. Opposite the family planning clinic, they have financed a center that looks just like the clinic. This pro-abortion volunteer says this strategy has misled many patients.
The first thing they see coming down that is pregnancy and abortion information, and many times being confused. I mean, they know they're in the right area, but they'll turn in there. That building is what is commonly known as a crisis pregnancy center. It is anti-choice. They provide information about pregnancy resources, about adoption. They try to give them all of these options so that they will not choose to have an abortion.
The center refused to give us an interview. But there are thousands of them in the United States. We decided to visit one wearing a hidden camera. One of our journalists pretends to be pregnant. The consultation requires no appointment and is free of charge.
So what we can do today is talk about what your options are. But let's start with abortion. So this also lays out the possible complications or adverse effects. So some of those can be heavy bleeding, infections, incomplete abortions, nausea or vomiting, diarrhea, fever, chills, dizziness, headache. Some women have had an abortion and a couple months later have realized, oh, I've felt a connection with baby and have felt very impacted emotionally down the road. Hear testimonies from other women who have gone through that. This can be a helpful tool. Otherwise, would it be helpful for you to talk with another person on staff with us who's gone through an abortion before?
After listing a series of risks related to abortion, the advisor gradually mentions other alternatives.
What do you know about adoption?
Not so much, actually. I don't know how it works.
Okay. This is just a brief overview of what the different types of adoption are. First one is open adoption. With open adoption, you're giving identifying information such as last names and contact information that's shared between you and the adopted family. So then you would have contact with your child as much or as little as you would like. With this, you would obviously still carry to term, and a lot of families offer to pay for medical bills, different medical appointments that you'll have to go through with prenatal care. We are a fully licensed adoption agency if this is something that you would be interested in considering.
Behind the religious beliefs, there is also a business. After convincing women to keep their babies, the center offers adoption services. According to their website, the process can cost adopting families up to $19,000.
Have a good day, you too.
Only a fraction of the country's nearly 4,000 centers are authorized to do this. But they all offer to make the process easier. With the power of pro-life movements in conservative states, many gynecologists refuse to speak out publicly. In Texas, Doctors Atkins and Palmer refused to give in to fear. We start by showing them documents from an unwanted pregnancy center.
Is abortion safe?
I see propaganda.
Yes.
Abortion is a safe procedure. So the risks when they talk about is abortion safe, they talk about you could have infection can occur anytime that there's a pregnancy and open cervix. Emboli, these are blood clots. This is more at risk if you stay pregnant than if you have a termination. Death, yes, pregnancy is a very high risk of death.
Right. But abortion,
no.
less so than staying pregnant till term.
Absolutely. If I wanted to adopt a baby, this would be the last place I would go, because I feel like they're basically forcing and almost stealing the babies because the women didn't want to have a baby.
Texas is one of the most repressive states regarding abortion. Gynecologist is now a profession with high legal risks.
If we perform an abortion, we can go to prison for murder. We have our medical license immediately revoked. It is a very harsh and swift penalty structure. Senate Bill 8, which is a law that basically empowers the general population as bounty hunters. So if I have a patient come to me and say, I want to terminate pregnancy, if I aid and abet, so if I give her information or I tell her where to go, in theory, I could be charged in a civil suit for $10,000 and held liable for that conversation by anyone. It could be the Uber driver who drove the patient to her appointment here. It could be her grandfather, her sister, her neighbor. But Barrett,
In the event of conviction, the law even allows the informer to receive a sum of money. So far, none of these prosecutions have succeeded because the abortion legislation is vague. Abortion is only legal in Texas if the mother's life is at risk. But there is no clear definition of this.
The laws are so complicated and they're so vague and they're so poorly written that I think a lot of physicians are really unclear as to what we really are allowed to do. Almost all of our partners have of inheriting a patient or having a patient come in as a new person to us who was turned away from getting their ectopic pregnancy treated somewhere else locally. That's a life-threatening emergency.
And when we decide that the mother is sick enough that we really have to intervene, or she won't make it, we have to fill out a form for the state documenting that we violated the law for this reason. And then they accumulate those. I don't know what they do with them. These things are ridiculous. It makes me angry. I have no fear. I'm angry.
A group of women recently sued the state of Texas, asking it to clarify the law. The state Supreme Court refused to rule, leaving doctors and patients in a state of uncertainty. In Wisconsin, the right to abortion has been temporarily restored. But for many women, it is already too late. In the coming months, Paige will seek justice in court.
I had to drop the kids off today because today is an important day in the aspect of court because it's the arraignment hearing today. He's got a total of 22 counts against him. 4 of them are felonies. So today is the day that determines how he pleads, whether it's going to go to trial or not. And we suspect that he's going to plead not guilty.
Today, the hearing is held by video conference. Paige's uncle has come to support her.
Hey, Kurt. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. You ready?
Yeah.
So right now we're waiting for the arraignment hearing to start. I am feeling stressed because you watch this date on a calendar from the day it's made up until now. I've almost dreaded today. I have to encourage myself to continue to keep moving forward, and it takes a lot. It's exhausting.
Numbers of participants, so I apologize for that. We are set today on both cases for arraignment after preliminary hearing held. Have you and your client received and reviewed copies of the information in each case?
We have reviewed the information, Your Honor. We will waive any formal reading. We'll enter pleas of not guilty on Mr. Johnson's behalf to all counts in both cases.
And I'm leading my Clark County case.
They're dragging that out, ain't they?
Yep. Buying them more time.
They're dragging this out, which isn't good because He's nuts. And she's not safe as long as he's not in jail.
And I do worry about what her future's going to be like. You know, are people going to be accepting of her? Is she even going to be accepting of herself? Knowing the background when she does find out. I don't honestly know what to do or when the time would be right to tell her if it came to that. But I feel it's only right to tell her, to have it come from me. She will always know she is loved. Whether she is a child of rape, came from a violent situation, she's always and will be loved.
The trial of Renly's father is due in the coming months. While waiting for the verdict, he is forbidden from approaching Paige and her children.